home games, part 2. Part 1 we just did, but I forgot to hit the record button. So we're going to do it all over again.
Best episode ever.
Best episode ever. You should have heard the stuff that we talked about. It would have won an Emmy.
Majestic.
Today, on the home games, part 2, part duh, emphasis on duh, we are going to be doing the 1-minute debate. Here's how that works. The 1-minute debate, I give these guys a topic. They have 1 minute to make their case. Normally, I would say they don't really know the topic or what they're going to be doing until now. Well, we've had a trial run. So it should be even better this time. We're starting with Bubba O'Neill for his second go-around. Question today, the 1-minute debate, what is the most difficult position in all of sports to play? Bubba O'Neill, for the second time, you have 1 minute. In 3, 2, 1, begin.
And like I said earlier, there were so many there are so many amazing choices here. But seriously, who gets it worse? I mean, than someone by the name of a catcher in baseball. Think about it. You're actually sitting there crouched for maybe 2 to 3, maybe even as much as 4 hours in that kneel position. So your knees are done. You're standing in a position where the batter could be looking down at you. He may be dropping saliva right on your body. You have the umpire who's behind you breathing. His breath may be bad. I mean, you are responsible for so much. And then the guy on your own team is throwing 100-mile-an-hour fastballs in which you're responsible of catching. You may have a foul tip. It may end up in your face mask. It may end up in the wrong area, for crying out loud. And then on top of that, you got a guy rounding third that's ready to bowl you over. His initial thought is to make contact on you. You may break legs. Anything could happen. And then a foul ball goes up in the air, and you have to run to the backstop, and you may end up in a concrete dugout. So who on earth would ever want to be a back catcher, guys?
Great question. Not smart people, apparently.
Yeah,
No.
And metaphorically, to prove your point, they're the only guy facing the other way.
Yes.
Yeah, but that, as you know, that has led to a lot of catchers ending up being managers or coaches. For some reason, that different perspective seems to, I mean, also understanding pitchers and everything, but it seems to lend something to the understanding of the game.
Well, that's true. When you say understanding pitchers, the pressure's on the catcher because everybody says it's a different team in baseball, even though the rest of the guys are all the same or the women are all the same. But what changes is the pitcher. Well, it's up to the catcher to make that pitcher different so that the team is different than it looked yesterday.
Yeah, for sure. And some of those guys, I watched a thing online this week. There was an old, I don't know, well, not old. It was a few years old. It was about Carey Price. It was on the 20th anniversary of Carey Price, Kerry Woods throwing his 20 strikeout game for the Cubs. And they were measuring the break that day in Carey Price's slider. And apparently, normally a slider will break like 12 to 14 inches. His was going 18 to 20 inches. I mean, you're starting your glove here, and it's coming at 97, 98, and ending up nowhere near there. And it's crazy. It is crazy. All right, Rick Zamperin, toughest position in sports to play. 3, 2, 1, begin.
Well, I will admit that catcher is tough. I mean, you're crouching, guys are trying to barrel you over. You know, you got a fastball coming at you, the guy's swinging. But, you know, a pro football quarterback, be it NFL, CFL, heck, next year XFL again, it is tough. You know, you got 11 or 12 guys coming at you at every play. At least 4 of them wanting to take your head off and, you know, going for your knees and your ankles. When they do sack you, they're maybe giving you an extra jab in the pile. They're trying to break your fingers. You know, they're trying to concuss you. And then you're calling plays. And this is just an example of Tom Brady's wristband, you know, zero flood slot Zap Parker, G2 out slot 40 A66 Haas Snow. And not only does he have to call these plays, but now he has to realize, you know, where are all these guys going? How's my line protecting me? Where's the running back going? Where am I going to throw to? Oh my gosh, you know, 3 guys are blitzing. It is not a thankless job, but it is a really tough position to be in because you got to do it for 60 minutes, for 60 plays sometimes offensively. And, you know, the pressure is mounting. And when you have all those guys trying to get to you and obviously some teammates trying to protect you, it is a tough position to play.
make it any different, Rick, that today there are rules that protect a quarterback? Does that change your mind at all, that those guys are not able to kill you like they once did?
No, yeah. I mean, you can't hit a quarterback above the shoulders and below the knees, but it still happens, and it will continue to happen. However, no matter what the rule book says, guys are going after quarterbacks.
Yeah. Drew Brees did get, what was it, 11 broken ribs this year in a hit? So,
and that's below the shoulders and above the knees.
Yeah. I mean, we're not. Who was the quarterback? It's not the days of, what was the old black and white photo of the quarterback lying unconscious in the mud once upon a time? It's not quite that. Who was that?
Y.A. Tittle, I think.
Y.A. Tittle, yes. Okay. All right, Steve Milton. 1 minute best or toughest position to play in sports. 3, 2, 1, begin.
There's a lot of ways to discuss tough guys, and I chose to interpret it as most dangerous. And so you could go to car drivers and a couple of other sports that are very, very dangerous. But imagine, I'll go back to baseball and Bubba. Imagine you're the third baseman coming in to expect a bunt from a right-hand batter, but you know he's not going to bunt and he's going to swing away. Well, what you've got there is the silly mid-off in cricket. They stand a few feet away from the man at bat or the woman at bat to his offside, which is the side they try to push it to. They don't try to pull the ball as much, and they can really whack those things. And silly, of course, is meaning just like you got to be loco to do that. And secondly, it originally was no chance of success. They didn't used to bang the ball as deep as they do now, but they swing harder now. The athletes are better, and it's like hitting it with a canoe paddle. It's that wide, so look out.
Yeah, and cricket balls are unpleasant.
Yes, they're hard, and they have that big ridge on them that's like a stitch in baseball, only raised higher, and it's basically wood. I mean,
and why do so many of those guys play without, like, man zone protection? I don't get it.
Yeah, and that's part of the highlight films on bloopers. There's always 2 or 3 of those.
Jeez. Man zone protection.
Yes. You got a unique equipment idea there, Bubs.
Yes. The Ottawa Senators this year have a sponsor of a manscaping product, which I thought, so now calling it a man zone protector, you could get a whole new, well done. I like that one, man zone protection. All right.
I'm squirming.
1 minute to name the most difficult position, toughest position in sports. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. When Steve mentioned toughest or most dangerous, I hadn't thought of this, but I will include in that list then the women who are the figure skating pair who get thrown up in the air, and we've seen before can land on their face. There was a Russian pair years ago where I remember he dropped her right in her face and broke all the bones. I mean, that's crazy. Anyway, I was going with most difficult with the standard definition, and I'm going to go with one that certainly isn't the toughest, is not the most dangerous at all. Designated hitter in baseball. And the reason is, I think hitting a baseball is the most difficult thing to do in all of sports. A round bat with a round ball and coming at you, bending and moving. And if you are sitting doing nothing for 30, 40 minutes at a time, and now you have to come in and do this, the hardest thing already, and now you have to do it without any kind of involvement in the game, I can't think of anything that would be more difficult than that, just on a skill level.
Good point.
And you got to be mentally tough there because, you got the golden sombrero and it's extra innings and you're counted upon to get a hit. And you're thinking about, the 4 strikeouts you just had. You got to be mentally tough to play DH for sure.
And historically, the DH was one of the reasons it was put in was to keep stars in the game longer, but the Players Association wanted it because it upped the salaries. Because they were kind of star players. So you were, for many, many years, I would say probably 30 years, you were also carrying that responsibility with you as a DH, as to help players raise their salaries and make it worth it.
Yeah.
Well, and as Rick says, sorry, Bob, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying that's a great point that you guys brought up there, because you're right. You're not involved in the game. A lot of times you're positioned in like the 4-hole or the 3-hole where you're kind of expected to make contact, expected to drive in runs, and you're coming in there cold and fresh and facing, as you said, it could be a 90-mile-an-hour heater. It could be junk coming at, 75 miles an hour. So Yeah, mentally tough position.
Well, watch how many. It's changing too, isn't it? Aren't people going to more players that can come in and out of the lineup a little bit? Partly
Yeah.
because of that, but partly because of the short benches, because of the number of pitchers they're using.
Very similar to. I was going to say very similar to
is right now. You could also see 4 different pitchers in your 4 different at bats.
Sure. Yeah.
I was going to say very similar to a football kicker. You know, you have one job to do, and if you're not doing it, you know, all the eyeballs are on you, and more often than not, that job is at the most critical part of the game. Well, hey, sometimes your name is Scott Norwood, and everyone remembers him.
Yeah,
you're just a kicker.
For all the
and
wrong
you
reasons.
know what? You may be just a punter too. You're just a kicker. Kick the ball.
We're going to send this video to all the Ticats past and present and former kickers and make sure they see Bob's comments. Kickers are athletes too. What do you think? What is the most difficult, dangerous, toughest, whatever way you want to define it? What is the most difficult position in sports to play? It's a debate that has gone on for a long, long time. Love to hear your idea on it. You can comment down below. Subscribe as well. Hit the little subscribe button there so you can know when these videos come out. We will talk to you soon. Take care.
Kickers.
Oh, and I did tape it this time, and it was really good, guys.
Nice.